Modern research shows that there's more information traveling from the nervous plexus of the heart up to the nervous plexus of the brain than in the other direction. What this means is that how we think about things and how we feel about things really happens more here than it does here. Additionally, it's now been shown that the heart has a greater electromagnetic field than the brain does, which means that this ancient idea of connecting from heart to heart has now been validated by modern science. Heart coherence is one of the most fascinating modern markers for health. And today we're going to do a meditation aimed at increasing our heart coherence, which has been shown to be correlated with our capacity for empathy, emotional intelligence, and connection. Welcome to Nervous System Reset. Today we'll be doing a meditation practice, and so I invite you to find a comfortable position. This can be laying down if that's what feels accessible to you today, but personally, I advise you to find a comfortable position with the spine vertical, seated up. This can be in a chair, or we can begin to practice or continue to deepen our practice of learning to sit comfortably on the floor as I am now, which is very beneficial for a number of reasons. Whichever position we find, I invite you to just ground down into it, feeling ourselves against the surface that we're supported by, and grounding into the present moment, this present space that we find ourselves in. We can do this a number of ways, but one of the really powerful ways to practice is connecting to the natural breath. And this is powerful for a number of reasons. I won't go into all of them right now, but one of the main ones being that the breath is something that is always available to us. So we're going to begin to connect to our natural breath, connecting to the inhale and the exhale. And I'm going to invite you to choose just one sensation associated with the breath. This can be the sensation of the lungs expanding and deflating, or it can be the sensation of the air passing by the entrance to the nostrils. Whichever sensation we choose today, I invite you to stick with it for the next 3 minutes. And we might notice, or we might have already noticed, that our attention has a tendency to run away or to be stolen by a sound around us or a sensation in the body, or more than likely a thought passing by. And when this happens, we might have a tendency to judge or get frustrated. But today I'm going to invite you to do neither of these, but instead even be a little bit delighted. Because when the attention runs away, it gives us a beautiful opportunity to practice bringing the attention back. So when this happens, I invite you to acknowledge that the attention has run away, accept or even delight in it running away, and then gently return it to your chosen sensation of the breath. And if the attention might be wandering, I invite you to acknowledge, accept, or even delight, and gently return it to the chosen sensation of the breath. And that's very good. I invite you to take a deep inhale and exhale with a sigh. And keeping the eyes closed, I invite you now to imagine your attention, which you've started to exert some control over, as a laser pointer. And we can take this laser pointer in hand and point it wherever we choose. It can point to thoughts as they pass by. It can point to things in our surrounding. But for now, we're going to take it and point it at our tailbone. And just rest it there for a few moments, a few breaths. And exactly as we've been doing, if the laser pointer jumps to something else, a thought or a sound, we simply acknowledge, accept, and return it to the tailbone. And that's very good. I invite you to take the laser pointer back in hand. And now we're going to point it at the crown of the head. And again, if it runs somewhere else, we're simply acknowledging, accepting, and gently returning it to the crown of the head. Beautiful. I invite you to take the laser pointer back in hand, and we're going to return it to the tailbone yet again. But this time, on the next inhale, we'll start to trace a line up the spine, all the way up, in time with the breath, so that we reach to the crown at the top of the inhale. And as we exhale, we're tracing back down the spine so that we reach to the tailbone at the bottom of the exhale. Inhaling up to the crown, Exhaling down to the tailbone. Matching it perfectly with the breath. And although it's a useful device to imagine the attention as a laser pointer, the attention is not bound to be so confined. And so on the next inhale, I invite you to relax from focusing only in one point along the spine, and instead scan the whole body up to the crown. And on the exhale, we're scanning the whole body back down to the tailbone. Up to the crown. And down to the tailbone. On the next inhale, I invite you to slow down the scan, as we're only going to scan up to the level of the eyes. And as we exhale, we slow down a little more, as we only scan down to the hip bone, up to the eyes, down to the hip bone, up to the eyes, down to the hip bone. And we begin to notice the way that this scan becomes higher definition. And we'll tighten it once more, scanning now up to the mouth and down to the belly button, the navel, up to the mouth and down to the navel. Noticing how, as we tighten more and more, we become more detailed in our scan. Our awareness becomes higher definition. We'll tighten the scan once more, scanning up to the collarbone and down to the midpoint of the ribs, just underneath the sternum. Up to the collarbone and down to the sternum. And I invite you, as we scan this progressively smaller space, to become very intimate with everything in this area. Not just the superficial parts of the back muscles, the chest muscles, the bones, the ribs, the intercostal muscles, but even deeper, the lungs, the diaphragm, and the heart. We'll tighten the scan once more. Now scanning the heart up and down, becoming very intimate with this tireless worker that doesn't stop from the moment we're born to the moment we pass. And you may notice that even if you know that the anatomical heart is on the left side of the chest, we may feel it more natural to scan the center of our chest. And this is not wrong, because we're not connecting to the physiological heart so much as we're connecting to the cardiac nervous plexus that governs the heart. And so I invite you to scan a few breaths more, getting a real sense of this space, the center of our being in many ways. And now that we have a firm sense of this space, I invite you to bring the fingers of your left hand to a point and place them right in the middle of this space. And now bringing back the laser pointer, we're going to feel where the fingers touch the chest and look behind that around an inch or an inch and a half deep into the chest. We're going to place the laser pointer, the dot of the laser pointer, right in the center of this space, right in the center of the cardiac nervous plexus, in some ways the brain of the heart. And we're just going to let it rest there for the next 4 minutes. And again, if the laser pointer runs away, we simply acknowledge, accept, and gently bring it back. And if the attention is wandering, I invite you to acknowledge, accept, and gently bring it back to the heart. That's very good. I invite you to take a deep breath in. And as we release the hand. And keep the eyes closed for just one moment before rushing back into whatever is next. As we take a moment for awareness, connecting again to the breath, but this time, instead of connecting to a single sensation, just noticing the character of the breath, how we're breathing after this practice. Noticing the body, how we're experiencing the body after this practice. And if we discover some tension or even pain that we might normally want to push away, I encourage you to embrace it fully. Checking in with the mind, noticing the flow of the thoughts, and checking in with any sensations or emotions that might be present for us, and whether they're what we would normally consider good or normally consider bad. I invite you to detach them from any such judgment and just embrace them fully for what they are, while not attaching to any of it, knowing that it will pass. I invite you to take one more deep breath in and a full exhale. And you can gently start to open the eyes and continue with your day. Thank you.